What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Today we have a hot day out, but we're gonna be looking at some pretty cool stuff. Gonna be kind of moving away from the cage a little bit. In the last video, or a few videos ago now, I guess, we wrapped up pretty much all of the cage for now. Got some big stuff coming, but I wanted to see if I could get close to the point where I could get my steering column in, and basically the first step to get us there is to figure out where that steering column is going to be going. So obviously we're going right-hand drive on this, as I kind of explained in one of the first videos. Basically it's going to be like a race car style right-hand drive swap. So the whole firewall is going to be basically cut out and smoothed out, so it doesn't really matter that, you know, I'm getting rid of all that stuff. I'll explain why later. But everything is basically going to go from basically the cowl down. So obviously we'll need a hole for our steering column, but otherwise we won't really need a whole lot there. Game plan is to go with the pedal box setup, and then the rest will kind of make sense as we go. But it's going to be real clean, using the right-hand drive JDM column, obviously. And then from there, I basically, when I got the shell, it came with this front subframe. So the guy had planned on doing a 05 swap, kind of like I am, so it kind of worked out. Gave me some of these extra parts, but he had the subframe. I cleaned it up, but I also went and got a steering rack. So I was kind of picky with this, did quite a bit of research, and what I ended up coming up with a lot of guys who do conversions and stuff, obviously we're going with 05 Plus, but the 05 Plus actually has like a quicker ratio steering rack than like previous models and things like that. So what I did is, I wasn't sure this was going to work like perfectly out of the box, but I went and got a right-hand drive steering rack from a company called Maryland. It's MD-JDM. So they basically have tons of JDM parts, lots of stuff they import, I believe. And at that point they've got, like, you know, front sections like firewall forward, stuff like that. Lots of little stuff. They've got motors, transmissions, all that stuff, so go check them out. They took care of me on this steering rack. I was going to flip this up so you can kind of see it, but the cool thing about this is it actually fits right in. I know with some applications you actually have to trim out this section when you just upgrade to the newer rack, but since this is an 05 subframe, it fits right in there anyway. So yeah, pretty clean. It's got some new bellows on it, so that's cool. Obviously eventually, way down the road, we'll have some new rod ends and stuff like that, but not worried right now. Just kind of want to see what it looks like and see if we can work towards getting the steering column in and hooked up. Of course, we got some other stuff we got to figure out before you go ahead and mount that, but this would be a first step. So what I did is I went to my local Subaru dealership, and I went and I basically told them what I needed. The whole thing with this build is that I don't have any hardware, so I'm basically going to have to go, you know, step by step and figure out what hardware I need. I got the nuts that I needed. This is where the crossmember mounts to. It drives through the bolt to the other side. I've got some new ones, but I'm going to wait until like final assembly to use those, since they're new and anodized and pretty. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and throw this crossmember on the jack, and we'll see if we can get this thing up in there, mounted, and then I'll show you another cool part that I've got for us. So let's go do it. All right, so we've got the cross member in there. Everything looks really good. It bolted right up. Like I said, I got stock hardware for it. I just kind of loosely bolted it in place. And then the cool thing about this whole thing is, just for now, just to kind of get an idea of where everything's going to be, there's basically this section here that's already round, and you can see I drilled it out. It's a little bigger than it needs to be. Obviously, like I said, the whole thing's going away anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But it's kind of cool because it pre-marks where everything should be. So I should be able to figure out my mounting situation for my steering column, and then from there be able to go at it. So the cool thing about these parts that I got here, well, they're some of the first like real parts I've gotten for the car. So this piece here, Vertex wheel, way dished out. It is a real Vertex. It's not a fake Vertex, I promise you that. And obviously you can see I've got a cool little disconnect there, quick disconnect, from Motion Raceworks. I have been a big fan of Cletus McFarland and all the stuff they've been doing forever, 1320, and obviously been kind of, watching as they grow their channel and their business, and it was a cool opportunity to use some of their parts, so I was really excited. Cool thing about their quick disconnect is it's like it only fits one way, so you can't get everything, and you can't get anything wrong when you put the wheel on. It only fits one way on there, so real nice, super smooth action. And this wheel actually as well was signed by we'll call him a friend, idol, growing up, Bucky Lassick. He was cool enough to sign the wheel for me. I had gotten a few things that I asked him to sign for me, and I sent him out a wheel and some decks that I had, kind of going through them all. He also has his YouTube channel and the bucket that he's built. I've talked to him about this build, and it was really cool that he signed that for me and sent that back. So obviously I don't want to get that too dirty yet, but we'll use it when we go to mock everything up, where we're going to sit and how the column's going to go. So the column itself is basically, it's a universal fit. It is a chromoly tube. Obviously you got your inner as well, and then from there it's all customizable, so you can cut it wherever you want, you trim it up, you throw the bushing back in, and then from there you can move the collar up or down wherever you need. And then really the only thing we need is to connect it is our joint system, depending on what we go with. So we might go with some of the Motion Raceworks stuff that they have available, or we might try to go with the stock one. Stock one's like almost $300 though, which I think is crazy for a stock one. I can just get the aftermarket one that's going to be better and work better anyway. So, but let's see what it looks like, see where we're at, and see how it lines up. All right, so I have it basically just kind of mocked up, really. I wouldn't even call it loosely. I just have it kind of stood in place with this block of wood. But you get an idea of kind of what the cockpit's going to look like at that point. Lots of room with this door bar, which I love, but I really can't do a ton without a seat. So I know it's probably best that I get my actual seats that I'm going to be using, but trying to keep it on the cheap as long as I can. Seats are expensive, so Jose next door has some of his old race seats out of the Miata that I might borrow just to see if I can kind of mock up just real loosely again, but then I can at least kind of establish a rough seating position. And then what I'll do is I'll build a mount for the column off of the dash bar there, and then from there I'll be able to have that be solid. And then on this side of the firewall you can see, well, the wheel still, the whole column might still have to go back quite a bit, but I'm thinking that it's probably going to be best to have it end pretty close to the firewall, and then I can just have my joint that connects them. As you can see, it crashing and burning right now. So yeah, that's kind of the game plan with it. And then kind of when I have that done, what I'll do is at that point I will go ahead and probably start working on the actual the front of the car. I won't call it the engine bay necessarily, but yeah, we'll go ahead and cut out the firewall, go ahead, you know, retrace it onto some sheet metal. I don't know how thick we're going to go yet, and then smooth all that out, get that done, and then what I'll do is I'll start to get everything else figured out too. So really excited. It's kind of cool to see this thing with a cross member in it. I know it's a very small thing, but you know, I haven't ever seen the car with one in it, so pretty sweet. Obviously, before that's permanently installed, there'll be a lot going on with it. It'll be recoated, but there's some fab that has to happen still for the long term. So yeah, but pretty cool stuff. You can see I've got some parts I'm collecting here. Yeah, won't go too into detail, but just some mock-up parts, and we'll talk more about that at some point soon. So yeah, really excited with just being able to kind of see what it would look like roughly, very roughly, but be able to get the cross member in, steering rack. Like I said, that was kind of a big thing because I wanted to get the rack that would be in there permanently. So I figured might as well go ahead and get the one I'm going to use, since, you know, if you're buying a right-hand drive steering rack, you know, they're not easy to come by anyway, so might as well get the good one. But anyway, want to thank MD, Maryland, JDM parts for helping out, taking care of me on the steering rack. They hooked me up, so really appreciate them. Go check them out, link in the description. And then from there, you know, Cletus and crew, Motion Raceworks, making some awesome stuff. Really excited to be able to use their products on the car. And then from there, got the Vertex wheel and Bucky. Hopefully we'll be able to chat with him some more as we get into the we'll call it the big step of this process, which I haven't talked about yet, but you know, stay tuned, we'll go through that. So appreciate you. Definitely like, subscribe, share, comment, all the fun stuff. So appreciate your time. We'll talk to you soon. See you later.